here. Wow, what's that?
That's the new Rax Mexican potato.
Today, we're going to talk about defunct fast food chains. Yes, fast food restaurants that were at one time everywhere and major heavy hitters, but eventually put the funk in defunct. Nowadays, there are fast food restaurants literally everywhere you look, but there was a time when there was even more of them. And time has a knack for thinning the herd. It's nature's way. Now, as you can imagine, the list of defunct fast food restaurants is pretty extensive, so I'm going to streamline it just a bit and narrow it down to some of the more potent ones. Nowadays, fast food chains cater to any number of different palates, but the number one menu item and what put fast food chains on the map is the hamburger. And when we think of hamburger joints, we tend to think of the big three: McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. But there was a time when there was a fourth one, and I'm talking about Burger Chef. There used to be the big four burger joints, now there's only three, and Burger Chef at a time offered the big three some major competition. Yes, Burger Chef fought viciously in the battle royale of burger joints, but eventually it would lose its steam, and one by one its nationwide restaurants would close up. Until 1996, when the last of its stores would close its doors, and it was bought out by Hardee's, another major player in the fast food game. Not too many people remember old Burger Chef nowadays, and the ones that do usually refer to it as if it were something from the age of antiquity. And I guess they're not too far off, but Burger Chef was more important to the fast food industry than many people think. It was founded in 1954 and would go on to revolutionize fast food without even knowing it. For example, the combo meal. Yes, the combo meal is synonymous with fast food restaurants, as every fast food restaurant has them. But you may be surprised to know that Burger Chef was the first one to combine a burger, fries, and a drink for a value price. And how about kids' meals? Another thing that is synonymous with fast food chains, as once again, every fast food chain has them. And many people think that McDonald's was the purveyor of the kids' meal with their Happy Meal, which they came out with in 1978. But once more, you might be surprised to know that Burger Chef was the first one to do it, and they would be 5 years ahead of McDonald's by releasing their Fun Meal in 1973. And they even sued McDonald's for appropriating the idea. They didn't win the suit, but they proved that you don't mess around with Burger Chef. And a little later on in 1981, when Burger King decided to get into the kids' meal game with their Fun School Meal, what kind of a name is that? Well, Burger Chef sued them too. Again, unsuccessfully. But the lesson here is, don't mess around with Burger Chef. So the Burger Chef Fun Meal was a big deal. Such a big deal that they even partnered with Star Wars in 1977 for the Burger Chef Star Wars Fun Meal. And it's weird to think now that such a major license as Star Wars had such a humble promotional beginning. But then again, maybe not so humble. Burger Chef was a bigger deal than many of us remember. And always keep in mind, don't mess around with Burger Chef. So Burger Chef is by far the most famous example of a defunct fast food chain. But of course, it's not the only example, and coming in at a close second is Rax, a fast food restaurant that had a very odd name. In fact, it sort of sounds like a Klingon establishment. Let me get number one with extra gah. Founded in 1964, Rax wanted to stand out in the land of burger giants by offering something a little different. Instead of burgers, they sold roast beef sandwiches, and this was immensely successful. Now, they didn't always go by Rax. For a time, they were known as Jack's Roast Beef, but eventually they would change their name to Rax, and the rest, as they say, is history. A very strange and convoluted history. Yeah, the story of Rax is anything but cut and dry. I'm not going to get into all that, but just know it's a pretty confusing tale. And technically, Rax isn't a defunct fast food restaurant, as oddly enough, a few locations still exist. It's defunct in the fact that it was at one time a nationwide chain that had hundreds of locations across the United States, including 2 in Guatemala, and was eventually reduced to having less than 8 locations. I'm not giving an exact number because I'm sure by the time you watch this, 3 of those stores would have already closed and have been immediately replaced by nail salons. There is one tried and true location in Lancaster, Ohio. The next time you're in the neighborhood, stop in and see them and tell them Captain Adam sent you, and nothing will happen. Rax was a pretty big deal and had numerous cross promotions, including the 1979 Rax Championship Wrestling trading cards. Rax had a lot going for it, so how exactly did it fall from grace? Well, one of the things was its menu. it did offer many choices, and yes, there is such a thing as too many choices. They eventually had an overexpanded menu, which only confused their customers. They ended up having just too many choices. I mean, hell, they might as well have started selling Klingon food. Told you about that guy. There was a lot of other problems too, like mismanagement, poor promotions, odd marketing campaigns, bizarre advertising strategies, coupled with less than enthusiastic slogans like "you can eat here." And the creme de la creme of the promotional nightmare would have to be their borderline nihilistic mascot, Mr. Delicious. Oh man, you guys should have stuck with Uncle Alligator. Each of these aspects were individual nails in the coffin, and though it still clings to life, Rax technically is and technically isn't defunct. Okay, so Burger Chef and Rax are two defunct fast food restaurants that you may remember, but how about a defunct fast food restaurant that you absolutely will not remember? Probably. And I'm talking about Yankee Doodle Dandy, another fast food restaurant that tried its hand at the hamburger. It opened in 1966 and closed its doors in 1985. It had a few locations and never came close to reaching Burger Chefian levels, but at least they tried. And though their specialty was hamburgers, they did momentarily break into the fried chicken game. And they did this with a great slogan that made you believe you're gonna like their fried chicken. It said, "You're gonna like our fried chicken." And speaking of chicken, let's say you're a fan of chicken, more specifically a fan of roasted chicken, and you're also a fan of Kenny Rogers. If only you had a place to go that appreciated this combination of interests. Well, in the 1990s, you did, with Kenny Rogers Roasters, which first opened in Atlanta, Georgia in 1991 and soon spread out through all of the continental United States. It was a rotisserie-style place, which offered quite a different option in the fast food jungle. Like Rax, it also had a pretty sordid history, the bulk of which was being sued numerous times by many different restaurant chains for stealing their recipes. Despite all that, however, it was a pretty successful fast food restaurant chain, but by the year 2000, it was pretty much all dried up. And also, like Rax, it isn't technically defunct. It still has quite a few locations, but not anywhere close. In the United States? Nope. In Canada? Nope. Anywhere in North America? Nope. Then where? How about Asia? Yeah, not only does Kenny Rogers Roasters still exist, but only in Asia, and it's also immensely popular. Boy, I did not see that one coming. Who would have guessed? Kenny Rogers Roasters has hundreds of locations all over Asia, like in the Philippines, Malaysia, and Thailand. Imagine going to Thailand on some kind of spiritual journey, and the first thing you see when you get there is a Kenny Rogers Roasters. Truly bizarre. Now, we've established that there was a place to go if you liked chicken and Kenny Rogers, but what if you wanted a hot dog and a taco? Was there a place to go for that? Well, yes, there was, with Pup and Taco. Oh man, that doesn't even sound appetizing. Pup and Taco was founded in 1956 and would go on to have quite the eclectic menu, featuring not only hot dogs and tacos, but also hamburgers and pastrami sandwiches. This place was pretty out of sight and very unique amongst all the other fast food places. This place wasn't a nationwide chain, as it only existed in California. Yeah, there was a shitload of locations out there, and before you think this place wasn't a big deal, the only reason why it went defunct is because in 1984, Taco Bell bought them. Yeah, Taco Bell viewed them as stiff competition and decided to take them out of the game by straight up buying them out. So they Vince McMahoned them before Vince McMahon was doing that.